Hi, if you're in the market for an air fryer and you're not really sure what to go for, then you're not on your own because there are a lot to choose from. So what I've done is I've come up with 10 things to consider before buying an air fryer. But what I've also done is I've actually come up with 5 reasons not to buy one, and these are just things that a lot of people don't really think about when you're looking for an air fryer. So all I'd normally say is, just before I start this video, is please subscribe to my YouTube channel, give us a thumbs up. What I do is I normally talk about things like household appliances, things like air fryers, vacuum cleaners, washing machines. So give us a thumbs up, click subscribe, and then we'll carry on. Now, although this list is in no particular order, I'd probably consider this first one the most important one. So number 1 on the list is the size or capacity of the air fryer that you want. I suppose what you really need to decide is how many people you'll be cooking for. If you're just a single person on your own, then you could go for one of the smaller ones. Capacities tend to start around the 1 to 1.5 litres. As you go to some of the larger items, you can go into the realms of 7.5 litres. So that's really number 1 on the list. Consider the size or capacity that you want the air fryer to be. Number 2 on the list, and again this is quite an important factor when you're deciding to buy an air fryer, is what do you want to cook in it? And I know it sounds bizarre. Do you want it just to air fry? If you do, then something like this one at the end, this is a Morphy Richards model. To be fair, it is quite a basic model in the range, and it just air fries, and that's what it's good at. If you want it to do more than that, then there are quite a few multifunction air fryers. So some of these Ninja products, which we're starting to do really well with. Some of these, as well as air frying, you've got roast options, dehydrate, you've got reheat, and you've got this, like this one at the end, that will do all those functions, and it's got a grill in as well. So just really decide what you want to cook in it. If it's purely for things like chips, so if you want to replace, say, a deep fat fryer with an air fryer, then something like these two at the end will be okay. If you want it to do a bit more, so if you want to use it for, say, grilling items, or if you wanted to, say, dehydrate vegetables, fruit, things like that, if you want it to do more than just air frying, then consider, say, one of these two, and have a look for, they're normally either 5-in-1 or 7-in-1 multifunction air fryers. So that's number 2 on the list. What do you want to cook in it? So number 3 on the list is, does it have a digital timer or a manual timer? What I mean by that is you've got this is just a manual timer on the side here. So as you can see, that's starting to count down now. That's just a very basic form of timer. I suppose the main advantage is it's easy to set. You just turn the dial and then that's it. And then it will just, normally an alarm will sound at the end when it's finished cooking. The main advantage with a digital timer is it's a lot more accurate. You can set it to the exact minutes that you want, whereas that's not quite as accurate on the manual timer. So I suppose personally I always recommend the digital timers. What you'll also find is that the temperature controls, so on this one again you've just got the manual option. So once you put the food in, then you just set the temperature. But again, it's not all that accurate. Whereas compared to if you're going to go with something like this, where you've got the digital temperature selection, it'll be a lot more accurate, and also it maintains the temperature as well. So that's number 3 on the list. Just decide whether you want the digital or the manual controls. So number 4 on the list is, how easy are they to clean? There's no point in buying something like this where it's really difficult to clean, because what you'll find is if things are difficult, then people don't clean them properly, and then it can become quite a pain, and then it's a waste of money. So what you'll find is you need to look for an item where a lot of the items are, say, dishwasher safe. This is one of the racks. This is the air frying basket that comes with this Ninja model on the end here. The good thing about a lot of products now is that they are dishwasher safe. So a lot of people have got dishwashers now. What you don't want to be doing is you don't want to have your nice meal and then have to spend ages cleaning everything from inside the air fryer. So that's number 4 on the list. Just make sure that it's easy to maintain. So number 5 on the list is the design of the air fryer. And I suppose this really covers a couple of different options. The first one, I suppose overall, is the size of it. What you need to do is you need to make sure that wherever it's going to sit in the kitchen or cupboard, that you can fit it in. Now, as you can see here, okay, these are just a couple of Ninja products, but with these, the designs are very different. The first one, I suppose this is quite a popular option. This is like a basket on the front, so it's just got the handle here, and then all you do is you put everything in here. These are very good if you're, I suppose, if you're on your own or if you've got a small family, then these are popular. If you have got a large family, then to be fair, most people are going for some of the bigger air fryers. But that's a popular one that we do, and that's quite a good one because it's nice and compact as far as the design. This one's slightly different. This has actually got a grill as part of it, but with this one, as you can see, you've got the grill rack on top here, so it all comes out, and as I mentioned earlier, it is all dishwasher safe as well. There are also some manufacturers that have things like lids where you've got a paddle as part of it as well. So if you put food in, then it will actually stir it at the same time. To be fair, I haven't actually got one here to show you. I'm not quite sure how effective they are. I've not actually tried one, whereas I have tried several of these models, and they are really good. I suppose when it comes to putting the food in, with some types of food you can stack them, so if you've got things like chips or fries, then you can put them in, you can put quite a lot in. If you are doing things like dehydrating food, or if you wanted to air fry things like vegetables, then it's normally best just to have them as a single layer. So for that reason, then things like this grill type of design where you've got the lid is normally the better way to go. But there's not really an ideal solution, so I suppose that's really something to consider, the size of the whole unit and also the design that you wanted. So number 6 on the list, does the air fryer have preset programs? And what I mean by that is that a lot of these will have the option for manual timing, where you can just put something in, say 200 degrees for 15 minutes. But for a lot of people, including myself up until about a month ago, I had no idea how long to put things in for. I suppose it's the same with any new appliance. It's a new way of cooking for a lot of people. So if you go for one with preset programs that will say if you've got, say, 4 pieces of chicken, then it will know how long to cook for you. That can be a help. Although saying that, quite a few manufacturers, and I know what Ninja do, is they put in their instructions, to be fair, the instructions are really good, and what it will do is it will give you recommended temperatures and recommended times for different food types that you're putting in there. So you don't necessarily need the preset programs, but it is something to consider because some air fryers will offer that option. Now number 7 on the list is, does it have a transparent lid? Now this is something which I suppose it's similar going back to the days of things like bread makers. We still sell some bread makers, they're not as popular as they used to be. But if it has a transparent lid, in theory, you can see what's cooking in there and how it's progressing without having to open the lid all the time. Because I know when I first used the air fryer myself, every sort of 3 or 4 minutes you're thinking, okay, let's just have a look, just have a cheeky peek inside to see how it's cooking. And clearly when you do that, then the unit itself turns off and then it's having to take longer to cook. So if you have got one with a transparent or with a clear lid on it, like a viewing window on top, then that can be an advantage. To be honest, not many air fryers tend to have the viewing window in the top, and I think what manufacturers have generally said over the years is if you have a nice metal casing on top and then you've got a plastic viewing window, then you can get some heat seepage, or you could sort of leaking out of there. I know that's what manufacturers used to say on bread makers, and that's really why they tend to have a solid metal top. And also what you'll find is over the time that after you've used it 3 or 4 times, then you get a lot more used to the way they cook and the timings, so it's not quite as relevant having the viewing window. Now number 8 on the list, does the air fryer have a rotisserie as part of it? Now I know the majority of air fryers, and none of these have got the rotisserie, but there will be on the larger items. These are normally the multifunction ones, so they're the 5-in-1, 7-in-1, or there are even some 9-in-1 air fryers. These tend to be quite big, so they're more family orientated, but some of them actually have a rotisserie, so you could put, say, a chicken in there, and it can cook and it will turn, and things like that can be really good. So that might be something to have a look out for, the one that's got a rotisserie as part of it. Number 9 on the list, does the air fryer have smart enabled on it, or is it Wi-Fi connected? And what I mean by that is, on some air fryers you can actually connect the air fryer up to your phone or tablet, and what it will do is it will give you cooking instructions, it will give you recipe ideas, it will also tell you when your food's ready, things like that, that you can actually connect the air fryer up to your phone. It is a question, do you need that kind of thing? For a lot of people, if you're in the kitchen anyway, do you need it to tell you when things are ready? For some people, they like gadgets, and I suppose some manufacturers have gone along this route. Personally, I wouldn't use it myself, but then there might be some people out there where if you're cooking away in one room and if you're doing something in another and you've got your phone with you, then it can send a message to say when it's ready. Although a lot of these will make a sound anyway, but it could be a good addition for you, so that could be something else to look out for. Now, number 10 on the list, and I suppose for a lot of people this could be a really high factor, and it's the cost of it. It's something which I suppose can't go overlooked. Air fryers tend to start, for the very basic ones, probably around the 40, 50, 60 pound mark, just for the cheap ones. Then as you go into the realms of like the 7-in-1, 9-in-1, especially if you've got the grill as part of it, then you are looking at several hundreds of pounds, some of them going to 300, 400, 500 pounds, so there is a big difference in the cost. So I've given you 10 things to consider before buying an air fryer, and hopefully that's been some kind of use. But there are some other things that people probably don't realise about air fryers, and what I want to do, I've got 5 things to think about as reasons why you might not want to buy one. So number 1 on the list is they can be quite loud. Now this is something that I must admit, I've got one at home myself, and I've used it quite a few times, but I was quite shocked as to how loud it is. Considering it's cooking the food, I've got an oven right next to it that is very quiet. This new air fryer is quite noisy. Now for some people, you might not want that. So the second thing why not to buy an air fryer is, are they big enough for your family? Now this is a typical air fryer. This is the one on the left hand side here. Although we do sell quite a few of these, personally I had to go for a bigger one, and we've got 4 people in our family, and even then sometimes we struggle with the space of it. Although some of them go up to around 6 or 7 litres, what you tend to find is, especially if you need to just have things on a grill rack, I've got 2 lads at home and they are pretty hungry all the time, so I need plenty of food to be cooked. And sometimes if we're going to do something, say like chicken portions and chips and say onion rings, then I'm not going to get it all in there, so I just end up putting the oven on. So that's the second thing to consider, is it going to be big enough for your family? So the third thing to consider is they can be quite bulky. I know these ones are the smaller models in the range, they are generally for smaller families, but some of the bigger items, especially as you go up to the 6 and 7 litre ones, are huge. And what you need to make sure, and I know I mentioned it in my first list of 10 things to consider about the size of it, but I must admit, even when I took my one out of the box, I was surprised how big it was. Fortunately I have got space in the cupboard for it, but what you need to do is you need to make sure you can fit it on your worktop, especially if you're going to put it in your cupboard when you finish cooking. Then make sure you've got space for it, because over the years people have accumulated different gadgets, things like donut makers, popcorn makers, waffle makers. There's a whole list of products that people have bought over the years, so just make sure you can fit it in the cupboard with all of those as well. So the next thing to consider is that they can be quite expensive to buy in the first place. I suppose what a lot of people are doing, over the years people have had deep fat fryers, and if you're comparing say a deep fat fryer to an air fryer, purely just those two, then an air fryer will normally be more expensive to buy than a deep fat fryer. Forget about the health benefits, this is just purely on the cost of buying one over the other. You will find that it can be twice or even 3 times as much to buy an air fryer compared to a deep fat fryer. And then number 5 on the list, and I suppose the last reason to think about or not to buy an air fryer, is that some of the items can take longer to cook than say in a standard oven. And what I mean by this is not necessarily for, say, a small portion. So if you were just going to cook, again, just use chicken portions, then there's not a lot in it. Say between cooking, say, 4 chicken portions against cooking them in the oven, there's not a lot in it. But if you want to cook for, say, a large family, I used the example earlier of chicken portions, chips, onion rings, then you would find if you needed to cook them in different stages, then it will take a lot longer. Also, if you are going to cook, say, fries in there, if you're going to cook your chips, then if you're going to stack them up, then ideally you want to allow space around them to cook properly. And often if you put them in an oven, then you've got space around them, you can spread them out on the pan. Clearly they might not taste as nice, but what you will find, it could take longer to cook if you put everything in the air fryer. So I hope you found that useful. First of all, the 10 things to consider before buying an air fryer, and then 5 things as to reasons why you might not want to buy one. I'm not trying to put you off at all, it's just really being honest about it, because I'd much rather when I'm selling an item, I'd much rather go through all the facts, just saying the good points and the bad points, because if that product isn't right for that person, then it's not right. But what you will find is that air fryers in general are really good. As I say, as a company we do sell a lot of these now, and people realise the health benefits of going for one. But all I'd normally say is please give us a thumbs up on a YouTube video, click subscribe and leave any comments below. If you haven't got any questions on air fryers, then just pop it in the comments and I'll get back to you. Also, if you have got an air fryer, then just share some of the successes or things that you don't like about the air fryer, because I'm sure there might be things that I've either forgotten or don't know about, because I'm quite new to the air fryer industry. We've only been selling these for a handful of months now, so let me know what you think. Thanks for watching.